Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is, another Wednesday, and I've been working really hard on my finances, trying to figure out how I'll pay for college. It's a big thing. It's a big part of what I do, is figuring out how to pay for college. I've been figuring that out for the past, and I've been figuring out what colleges are best to go to and where I could possibly get into college for the past week or so. So I've been working really hard on it. I've narrowed it down to about 11 schools that might take me, and it's going to be hard to get in because of my history, my checkered past. My checkered past, as you all know, I've been unemployed for over 10 years. Over 10 years. I have a history of schizophrenia. I have a checkered work history where I had patchy work history where even when I was working, I didn't work for more than 3 months at a time because of discrimination and other things that I faced on the job that were very serious. And so it's going to be rough for me to get in anywhere. So I have to pick a school. I have to do really well. I have to get a job. I have to keep a job for however many years. I've got to get good grades. And if I do all of that, and if I'm capable of doing that, then I can get in, anywhere, possibly. Not anywhere, but in a school that takes 80% or more, an 80% or more acceptance rate. I've been looking at the schools with the highest acceptance rates that take 4 out of 5 candidates, because that's for me. And so because of my checkered past, I can't get into an elite school, but at least I'll be able to get into a school that's decent. And I might not be able to get into the college of my choice. I might not be able to get into my local college, but I'll definitely get in somewhere. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that I'll get in somewhere. So that's the story of college. I've been figuring out how to pay for college, and obviously I'm going to get financial aid. I'm going to get assistance. The full extent of the law, but I still have to pay for personal expenses. And once I go to school full time, the government's going to cut me off. I'm going to be off the government teat. So I'm going to have to get a job full time to support myself and to support myself through college. And the FAFSA doesn't pay for everything. It pays for a lot, but it doesn't pay for everything. So I have to get a job. And then just the general thing, I've been watching a series called Money Revealed. And they do say that you shouldn't go to school in the series, which I find reprehensible. Money Revealed, they say you shouldn't go to school and that's a waste of your time and money, and that it's a ripoff and it's terrible about how much people owe in student debt. So that's one thing they say in Money Revealed. They also promote Trump in Money Revealed. Robert Kiyosaki specifically. I don't know if any of the others, but Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I read, and he's kind of a loose cannon. He's sort of not very reputable. He's sort of a con artist, a shyster. But I read his book, and he promotes Trump, so don't like that. But other than that, there's been some pretty good advice. There's been some pretty good advice in Money Revealed. Some examples. Well, they said, the guy last night said that unemployment was a sign of economic growth, which I disagree with. But he says that when humans are replaced by machines, like when Uber drivers get replaced by robotic cars, which will cause a lot of accidents and isn't a smart idea. But he said when they're replaced by mechanical cars, the drivers will go out and become doctors or teachers or roofers. Those were his examples, and I kind of have to disagree with that guy. Let's see if I can find his name for you. Paul Zane Pilzer. Paul Zane Pilzer. And he's not an observant Jew because he takes the name of God in vain, and he believes in working on Sundays. Paul Zane Pilzer does. And I asked my friend Judy what she thought of that, and she said maybe he's a reform. But I kind of doubt it. I think he just does his own thing and likes doing his own thing. But this Paul Zane Pilzer said that unemployment is the number one sign, the one and only sign of economic growth. And this is terrible because there are people with low IQs who can't do anything other than menial work. And there won't be any menial work for them to do if they're replaced by machines, so they'll be unemployed forever. And so this guy doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. That people need jobs. He thinks that rolling out the pizza dough will be replaced, and that the machine will roll out the pizza dough, and that there will be fewer employees required, so then they can go do something else that will contribute to society. Well, let's face it, not everyone can do every job, okay? Some people are geared towards some jobs. Some people are geared towards certain jobs, and some people aren't geared towards certain jobs. So there was a lot to disagree with in Money Revealed. And you know me, I tend to notice the things I disagree with more than the things I agree with. But let's see, some of the things I learned, they talked about misnomers. It was Garrett Gunderson was talking about misnomers, like stereotypes like a penny saved is a penny earned, or you got to have money to make money. That was a big one with him. And all sorts of little sayings that Garrett Gunderson doesn't think are true. He thinks that they're harmful. And also he said all of them were saying 401k is a bad idea because 401k is not a tax shelter. 401k is not a tax shelter. It's just a matter of whether you want to get taxed now or later. And later, probably the taxes will be higher. You're banking on whether the taxes are higher or not at your retirement. That's all you're doing. So it's an uncertainty. It's an uncertain, plus you don't have the use of that money all that time. So you don't have the use of the money all that time, and you still get charged taxes. You just get charged taxes later. And they add extra taxes to 401ks. They add a surtax and all sorts of extras to a 401k. So it's not good. A 401k is not a good, it's not a tax shelter. It doesn't really, the money grows deferred, tax deferred. But what that means is that you pay the taxes later, and whatever the tax rate is when you pay later is what you pay. And taxes are only going to go up because we have an aging population, number one. Number two, that aging population is living longer. So we have baby boomers. We have a huge baby boom, and there were lots of babies born, and they're aging, and they're living longer. So we're going to have a lot of money in the short term in taxes and to pay for their retirement, because they paid into Social Security, but our government squandered the money like government does. They squandered the money, and now the bills are going to come due, all the health bills, all the retirement money, and there won't be enough for everyone. So, and they'll have to print money, which will make the dollar go down even more. The inflation will make the value of the dollar go down. And so it's a real tricky situation with, I've known about this for years. I've known about this. I didn't really need this show to tell me, but what's going to happen with 401ks is then the future taxes will be higher than they are now. Okay, so if you have to pay taxes on your 401k in the future, you're going to get taxed at a higher rate. And if it's true about the soil collapsing, if it's true about the soil collapsing and widespread hunger, that's going to make the tax rate go through the roof, because the dollar will be devalued, everyone will be hungry, and you won't be able to buy a loaf of bread for $200, and people will be starving, and the government is going, and people will be stealing to get by. And so the government is going to raise taxes a lot. They're going to raise taxes a lot because right now they're squandering our natural resources. So they're squandering of natural resources. There's an aging population that's living longer, and everybody's going to starve to death. All these things mean that the taxes will be much higher in the future. So 401k, deferring your taxes till later, is a bad idea. It's better to invest now and have the use of that money now, and be able to invest now rather than later, and pay your taxes now when taxes are low. So that's a story. 401k, IRA, all Roth IRA, all bad ideas. If you're going to have a retirement plan, just start investing in stocks straight up. Just invest in the stock market. Don't use a 401k, because you want to pay your taxes now, not later. So they sell these things. The government sells these things and pushes them as great tax shelters for the poor, and a great way to invest and have your money grow tax-free. Well, it's not free at all. In fact, you pay more taxes on a 401k than you do if you just invest straight up. So, are there any real tax shelters? No, but one guy suggested using a life insurance policy, and it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to use a life insurance policy as an investment vehicle, because that's not what it was intended for by law, first of all. And you get in trouble with the government. Second of all, the government's made new rules about investing in life insurance policies, and they made it so it takes you 5 to 7 years of investing in a 401k to build up the money that you can put into a life insurance account. And so the government's made these rules, and so it's not such a hot idea. It's not such a hot idea in using a life insurance as a tax shelter. But and also another thing is that with life insurance, you have to use CDs, certificates of deposit, which are only around 3% right now or less yield, and they grow, so the money grows extremely slowly. So you offset that with a higher interest rate. If you're earning twice as much, it doesn't matter if you're paying taxes on it because you're earning twice as much. So another thing you can do is defer taxes. If you want to defer taxes, is to let your money grow tax free, and keep reinvesting it. Just don't take dividends. Just have the dividends reinvested, and if you reinvest your dividends and have them rolled over, when they roll over and go back into your stock account and pay for more stocks, then if you roll over your dividends, your money grows pretty much tax free, and you may have to take a little bit of dividends, like a few dollars, but because you have to pay for taxes in round numbers. A stock has a certain value, and you pay that value, so there will be a little bit left over, but not much. You can roll over your dividends and buy more stock with your dividends and not have to pay the taxes for years. And that takes advantage of the power of compound interest, because taxes that you pay today, that money is worth millions in the future. You see, it's better to pay it all at once in the future rather than pay now. So it is good to defer taxes, but a 401k is not the way to go about it, because there's extra hidden taxes, and it's not really tax free. It's not a tax shelter like they make it out to be. You still pay taxes, and they slap you with extra taxes with a 401k. So it's not a good idea. They're going to think of new taxes in the future too, and apply that to 401ks. So just invest in stocks, and if you need something else to invest in, if you need to park your money and you need it to be secure and safe, and you can't afford to lose that money, like if you're saving for college like I am, then the way to go is either certificates of deposit, T-bills or T-notes, treasury bills or treasury notes, because that's a short-term investment that will pay for college within 4 years or less. T-bills or T-notes, CDs, and savings accounts. And which of these pay the most? Well, the CDs pay the most. Certificates of deposit. CDs pay the most. The second most is a savings account. And the third most is the T-bills or the T-notes. Now, why would you even want to invest in T-bills or T-notes? Well, there is one condition. If your credit is bad for whatever reason, like if you don't have a credit history, like for years I did not have a credit history. If you don't have a credit history, one way that you can invest is to buy T-bills and T-notes, because you don't have to have good credit to buy a T-bill or T-note. You just need the cash. Whereas with a bank account, with a savings account, or with a certificate of deposit, they do a background check. And by background check, I'm not talking about your criminal history. They look at your credit history. They examine your credit, and they rate you based upon your credit, whether you're a credit risk or not, and whether they're going to give you the money, or not give you money, but you know what I'm saying, allow you to invest in a savings account and there's high yield savings accounts. Don't go to your local bank, because your local bank will give you anywhere from 1/100%, which is extremely low, to 0.05%, which is extremely low. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it to go to your local bank. Instead, look online. Look for online banking, online bank accounts, and see if you pass their credit check or not. But there you can get a rate up to 2.05% online, and CDs for a short-term one, which is what you would get. They go up to as high as 2.45%, but it depends on how much money you have to invest. Okay, if you got $10,000, you can get 2.45%. If you only have $2,000 to invest, or anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000, you can get a rate of up to 2.35%. And I recommend Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae is one of the best for certificates of deposit. They offer a rate of 2.35%, which is very reasonable. And the 1 year, and the 3 year are the highest. The 2 year, the 15-month and the 18-month, and the 24-month are not as high. So definitely check out Sallie Mae. I found that online as far as bank accounts, because you're going to need a bank account to build up interest while you're parking your cash, saving up for a CD. You have to park your cash somewhere. I recommend a high yield savings account to park your cash. And one of the best, Citi allows you to have a rate of 2.05%. But the problem with Citi is that you have to maintain a $500 minimum balance. So that money's locked up unless you close the account, and they'll still charge you $470 plus whatever they charge to close the account, maybe $25. So you lose money on Citi, which may offset your interest if you have too little interest. I mean, let's face it, to get $1,000 in interest, you need $45,545 to get that much interest in a year. Okay, and it goes by the year. So the APY is the yearly percentage rate, and you figure it out. So if you don't have 45,000, okay, you're not going to get $1,000 in interest. So if it's less than $1,000 in interest, if it's something more like along the lines of $100 in interest a year, then if you have to close the account, and it's going to cost you something like $30 to close the account plus the fee for going under 500, it's going to eat into your interest significantly. It's going to be about a third of what you would have earned. So you don't get really any advantage by going with Citi. There's some other good ones. PNC offers 2%, and I think HSBC, I'm not sure of the name, HSBC offers 2.05%. So there's different options. There's different options for different banks. You can always go with somebody like you can always go for 1.9%. There's American Express, 1.9%, although they have some very restrictive rules for their accounts. American Express does. Or you can go with, let's see what I know I took some notes here. Okay, there's Citizens Access. That's another CD. I didn't take the notes. Okay, unfortunately. Okay, so there's Marcus by Goldman Sachs, I believe it is, but don't quote me on that. I think just look up Marcus Bank and it should pop up. That they offer 1.9%, and you can use, and they give you an ATM card, so you can actually go to ATMs and withdraw your money. So that's a great high yield interest. 1.9% is the highest that you can get, and still get an ATM card. So and for $40, $40 less interest, it might be worth it to you for $40 to have an ATM card and to be able to go to any ATM anytime and withdraw your money. But if you're saving for college and your primary objective is saving, and oh, by the way, there's a limit of 6 transactions a month. 6 transactions a month is the limit. And with Bank of America, it's 3 transactions per month. Bank of America really slapped me with a lot of fees when I had a bank account there. I would never go back to Bank of America. But most of them allow 6 transactions per month. And it's based on federal law. So if you go over 6 transactions, you're allowed to, but they slap you with big fees. For each transaction, they charge you something like $3. Plus, they charge you an ATM fee of $2.50. So there's lots of fees, and that's to be expected. Everybody knows about ATM fees, and that you pay ATM fees no matter where you go. But I think Marcus, the Goldman Sachs, I think they waive the ATM fees. So there's no ATM fees at a whole bunch of ATMs. Not all ATMs, but most ATMs throughout the U.S. that are partners with Goldman Sachs will waive the ATM fee. So you'll have to look into it. You'll have to read the fine print. But it sounds pretty good. And you can get a higher rate of interest and access to ATMs. So I've been doing some heavy research into this, and I found out that my local bank is woefully inadequate. And this pays in the future, because once I do have $45,000 to invest, which I will, and I have to park the money in a bank account for a while before I invest it, it's going to be I have to have enough. I have to have a high enough interest rate. The interest rate really matters when you have a lot of money. And as far as how much you can get with just investing in college when you just have a brand new job and haven't been saving for a while, in about 4 years, you can get about, $400 in interest. So it does count for something. It's not a lot. It's not a whole lot of money, but it counts for something. And another thing to look into is life insurance. I think Garrett Gunderson is the life insurance salesman, and he had a lot to say about how Garrett Gunderson saved his clients a lot of money and got them a terrific life insurance policy. It was for $10 million, and he saved them $250 a month in the process, something like that. I'm not sure if it's per month or per year, but he saved them money and he got them a great policy. So something to look into. You might want to look up Garrett Gunderson if you need life insurance for yourself. But then there was advice from Robert Kiyosaki. He invests in his business and oil, which I disapprove of and wouldn't invest in oil. He invests in gold, and I don't think he invests in stocks, but that's unfortunate because stocks are a great investment, and I do recommend investing in stocks. But he invests in his business primarily, and also in gold and oil. So just some tips of things to invest in. Not saying you have to do it. Gold actually becomes more valuable during an economic downturn. So you want to buy gold when the price of gold is low, which is usually when the market is high. When the market is high, now don't quote me on this, I'm not sure, but I think when the market is high, gold is low. And then when the economy tanks, gold becomes more valuable. That's what I think, but I'm not sure. You'll have to look it up and do the research for yourself. But I think that that's the case. So I'm not sure how the stock market is doing. Trump has been doing some things with the stock market, and it's not doing so hot. It's because of his trade war with China. The farmers are hurting in certain places because they can't sell their goods to China. So that's it. Go ahead and check out Money Revealed if you want to. Some of the people are pretty shady in it, and I don't trust Robert Kiyosaki. And some of the things they say are opinionated and maybe not very trustworthy, but it's worth checking out if you might get some tips. So the Motley Fool guy was very interesting. Let's see what his name is. No, I don't see it. Oh yeah, David Gardner. David Gardner of the Motley Fool. Go ahead and check out Motley Fool. They have some great tips on stocks. And I also heard from G. Edward Griffin, a blast from the past. G. Edward Griffin wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island. I read that many years ago. I read it over 20 years ago, and it's a classic. So that's another thing to check out. But it's called Money Revealed. Just search for it, and the series is going on right now. You've missed the first 2 episodes plus the bonuses, but they're going to have a repeat. Don't worry if you missed it. They're going to have a repeat in about a week. So if you sign up now, you can see it again in about a week. I'm Sarah Jane Alpha Wolf signing off. Take care, and take care of business every day, and do well.